Well, it's that magic month of November, which hopefully means more deer movement. One thing it does mean is the time change, so I'm on the road at 2 o'clock this morning instead of 3 o'clock, so not liking that too much. But it's November 4th, 41 degrees. It's supposed to be pretty calm today. Hopefully things are moving a little more than they were last month. Had a few reports that people are seeing the bucks moving now, the bigger bucks, and so hopefully we can catch one cruising. We don't know. Haven't been down for a week or two, so I'm not sure what the situation is. Whether the crops are still in. We had beans this year, so I haven't got anything on my trail camera. Haven't been able to check it anyway. So we'll just have to kind of play it by ear this morning, and hopefully something shows up. So, but here we go, another late night trip. I got about a half a block from the house, and out in Scott Brishley's front yard was a big doe. So that's pretty typical. I'm going to drive 2.5 hours to try to see deer, and I could have seen one 10 minutes from the house and then went back to bed. So, but we'll see what happens. Well, sun finally come up. Been a busy morning already. There were 3 out here on the north edge right about 6 o'clock. Looked like they were just out there feeding. Couldn't decide whether they wanted to come into the woods or just keep working the edge. And about that time a big-bodied one come running across that field, and he kind of pushed them. They went out of my sight line, and I don't know, 10 minutes or so, I saw a couple of them coming back this way down the north edge, and but I didn't see the big one. And then about 20 after 6, I looked up, and he was cutting through the middle of the 10 acres, heading south, and it looked like he was just going to keep on going. So I thought, well, what the heck? I grunted at him, and I got him to stop at about 70 yards. And he's standing there kind of looking back this way. I couldn't really see his rack real good, but his left side had a real nice main beam on it. Probably a bigger main beam than any of the 8-pointers I've killed with the bow. So I have to go review some of my trail cam pictures and see if I can match him up a little bit. But he didn't want anything to do with it. He just went ahead and went on south. I'm hoping maybe a little bit later he'll kind of cruise back through this way, kind of like that one did last time. They come back in here about 2 hours later, so hopefully he won't find what he's looking for, and he'll come back through. Checked my trail camera when I got home, and this is what I found. One of the pictures. This is actually the buck I saw this morning, and this picture was taken last night. As you can see in the background, it was right about dark or sundown, one of the two there. You can see a little bit of glow, but he was heading south to north, probably out to the field to either feed or chasing a doe or whatever he was doing. And then this morning he came back from the north to the south to go I assume across the road to the bedding area over there. And I had him at about 50 yards, grunted at him. He stopped, looked, but he didn't want anything to do with it and continued on his way. So hopefully I'll see him again the week of shotgun season. This guy here, he's kind of a freak of the week. I saw this rack in this picture earlier in the year, and I thought, he's an odd looking character. I didn't really know exactly what he was, and I thought, man, I'd really like to get a look at him in real life and see how he turns out. His rack is just way high up in the air, and I'm not sure. Neck wise, he doesn't look that old, so I don't think I don't know if it's genetics or if it's young age, or he's got some kind of a problem going on. But I was hoping later on I could get some more video of him, or see him, or even get some more pictures of him to see how he turns out. I actually got my wish. At the end of this video, you'll see how he turns out. He was following that little 8-pointer, and I wasn't even sure. I thought, man, I wish I got a little more video of that 8-pointer. And I just kind of kept watching the video, and then all of a sudden, here he comes. He kind of looks like a 5-pointer or something, but he's a strange looking bird. Once Magic November hits, it tends to get a little busier out there. These trail cameras, they can bring you dreams, they can bring you nightmares, depending on what you see or what you don't see on them. I myself just use a little wild game camera. I've had it for years. This kind of reminds me I probably need to adjust the time and the date since a couple weeks ago I got it all screwed up, and I'd like to say that was a genius move on my part by having a certain code that so people can't tell when the deer are on my farm. But I'm not that smart. I just took the batteries out of it for something else and put them back in there, and I didn't change the time and the date. So it reverted back to, I think it was like January of 2015 when I must have got the camera. So but it's good to see a lot of activity on there. Whether it's big ones, whether it's small ones, no matter what it is. I got a couple pictures here earlier in the month of a couple coyotes, and I had never seen, I don't believe, but maybe one coyote on that farm since I bought it in 2005. I've just never seen them, and I had two come in on that same day, one right after the other, and that was kind of disheartening. But watching the deer over the years, you get to looking at them and you could say, hey, this was so and so from last year. You can see how they grow. You can see how different they grow earlier in the year when you're getting real good pictures of them in velvet, and they seem to be a little more visible. And then once they shed the velvet, they kind of disappear for a little bit. But November usually brings them out. And like I said, my farm's a pass-through farm. I can't rely on the camera to say, okay, so-and-so showing up 2 or 3 times this week, I better get down there. It doesn't quite work that way, especially when the rut hits. The deer are running all over the place, and you may see bucks you've never seen. You may see does you've never seen. You may not see the ones you've been seeing all summer long. They may take off out of the area, try to hide somewhere else. The bucks will follow does anywhere, so you never know what shows up. The the big 10-pointer I killed back in 2016, I'd never seen him. I never had any pictures of him. As far as I know, none of the neighbors had seen him. You know, he just all of a sudden, there he was that day. And I happened to be in the right place at the right time. So that's kind of what free hunting's about. You know, we're not the big family farms. We're not the big business farms that, you know, those deer are traveling on our farm because we have 1,000 acres and we just got to figure out exactly what corner of the farm they're at. And you got people watching it all the time. You got cameras sending stuff to your phones every day. You know, I don't have none of that. So it's a guessing game, which is fine with me because it really keeps you interested, you know, and I think when you finally get one, you've earned it, you know. So it's just great to see November come around if you're a deer hunter, because that's when the activity is here in Illinois. So hopefully you're there. And I got a week of vacation I can still take, and I believe I'm going to put in for it. And hopefully the weather will hold out. Hopefully my body will hold out. I might have to take a few rests in between hunts rather than all-day sits like a lot of times we do in November, and just play it out however it plays out, you know, and hope you don't miss any good action. But a lot of times you don't know what kind of action you might have missed. So, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, but it won't keep you up at night. I can tell you that if you didn't, you think, well, there wasn't no deer around. So anyway, hopefully next week, next couple weeks, whatever, we'll have some real good footage for you and some real good action. Hopefully some chasing. Hopefully we'll get some on the ground. And that's about all we can do is be in the tree as much as we can and try to pattern somewhat, you know, the route they're taking. Normally in the rut, they're just running right through the middle of that 10 acres. There's not a set pattern for them. They're just either running north to west or north to south or south to east, and they're going, I mean, they're going everywhere. You never know. They can come straight one way and then all of a sudden they'll just turn and on a dime and just cut out the other way because they see something, they smell something, or something's coming after them. So it's a lot of fun, So I'm going to leave you with a little moment of zen. I'm going to show you a video of that little doe that come through yesterday, and she was scared to death of that oil guy, but then she calmed down and she hung around for about an hour. So I got a little bit more camera footage of her than just off of my phone. So just sit back and enjoy nature for a little bit, because sometimes that's what it's about. It's not about the kills. It's not about, you know, anything other than just sitting there and enjoying yourself. Little peace and quiet time, a little time with God, and you know, watching these creatures in their habitat. It's absolutely amazing sometimes to just sit and watch. And if you're lucky enough to get one in here like that was, you know, finally calmed down and spent a lot of time around you just doing what it does, and it's pretty entertaining.